right. Facebook changes things all the time on us, so we never know if it's working or not. Welcome back to the Y.E.S Functional Longevity Podcast, where we give you insight on how to get fit, feel younger, and live better. I am Chris Borda, best-selling author and owner of Y.E.S Fitness. And today, you have no housekeeping. We're getting right into it. Okay, we're just getting right into the topic today. We have Brenda Nye with us today. Thanks for coming on board today, Brenda.
Happy to be here.
Okay, so Brenda has been a coach here at Y.E.S Fitness for 13 years.
13 years.
I looked it up today.
I love it.
Like it was October
It was
5th of
like
2008.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I
So,
know.
right, so anyway, I have been so lucky to have her on board with me. She's a fantastic coach.
Best boss ever.
And I can't say enough good things about it. She just is we're just really lucky to have her on our team for so many years. But we are not talking about exercise today. We are talking about honey. Brenda is a beekeeper, and September is National Honey Month. I know you all knew that out there, but and the reason why I want to talk about honey is because there's so many good things about honey, and the benefits of honey, and the things that you can do with it. So I thought, you know what? Brenda's a beekeeper. She has been now for
Over 10 years.
over 10 years. You can get her products at
Y.E.S Fitness.
Y.E.S Fitness, but also she does sell at Waggle Dance.
Waggle Dance Apiary.
Waggle Dance, and we will have that website in the notes above it at the end of this. But I just thought it would be a great idea to have you come on board and just talk about this, because people have different ideas about honey, whether it's too much sugar or should we be eating it. Do we have to eat it locally, and how is it made, and all that kind of stuff. So I just thought we would just start from the beginning, and welcome on board for coming on board again.
Thank you again.
And so to start off, I mean, how did you get involved in this? Whatever came about, like, what's going on? I just want to do honey.
You got to start with chickens, because
Chickens, okay,
chickens are the gateway into bees. I started with chickens because of a former client of ours, Carl P. We used to chat a lot, and we used to train together, and he said, you got to get into chickens if you're going to get into organic gardening, which my husband did. And then he kept giving me the Grit magazine, and I once read an article about the plight of the honeybees when they were having colony collapse disorder, and I said, I should do something that scares me, because that's how you grow, right? You do stuff that scares you. So I contacted a local beekeeper in town, and I said, do you mind if I come check out your bees and see what it's all about? And he said, sure. So I went down, and I was hooked, totally hooked.
So what is colony collapse disorder?
It was a disorder that happened back in 2006, I think, to 2009. That's when a lot of commercial honeybees started just collapsing, and they weren't really sure why. And it's still kind of out there, but not as bad. And I think it's because the management practices have changed in beekeeping. So.
All right. So why don't you give us a little history of honey, like when it started, where it came from, all that kind of stuff.
Well, honey's been around for over 8,000 years. We have pictures of cave paintings in Spain that show the honey harvest, so we know it's been around. So when you get honey nowadays, managed beekeepers will have honey in frames like this, so it's a lot easier than climbing a tree and hacking down the honey and trying to deal with like 60,000 stinging insects. Nowadays we have veils to cover ourselves and whatnot. So let me show you where the honey first comes from.
I mean, this thing is really cool.
This is part of our hive.
It's interesting.
This is called a honey frame, so I'm going to kind of hold it up so
right
you
up
can
there.
see it.
Right in front.
This here is plastic. It's spelled backwards on me. This here is a plastic foundation, we call it. And the bees will create a three-dimensional honeycomb. You can see a three-dimensional pull-out that they build out. So they get the wax from their bodies. The nurse bees produce it. They mold it in their mouths, believe it or not, and then
Here comes the growth part.
they form it into these honeycomb hexagons. Okay. And it's very soft and pliable, so you have to be careful not to crush it. But when they have enough space above and they have enough of this drawn out, they will store nectar in here. Now, nectar comes from flowers, so the bees go and they do pollination. They collect the pollen, they bring back in their legs, and they feed their babies the protein source of pollen. But the carbohydrate source is the honey. So what they will do is go collect the nectar. They will transfer it bee to bee. It's called trophallaxis. It's a way the enzymes are spread back and forth. And then they pack it into the honeycombs, and when it hits less than 20% moisture content, they will cap it over with wax, and it will last forever.
I don't, you probably can't see this, but this is amazing in nature. These are perfectly shaped hexagons.
Yeah.
I mean, perfectly shaped hexagons. And what are they, maybe a third of, like a quarter of an inch?
3/8 of an inch,
About
maybe.
3/8 of an inch deep, and they're all like exactly perfectly the same.
Yeah. So in the honeycomb, the queen will lay eggs. The baby bees will develop into first larva, then into a pupa. They'll get capped over. They'll emerge, and then they do all their different house duties. And when they become foragers, then they go out, and they've got 6 weeks left of their lives, and they're the ones that go out and collect the nectar and store it. So what beekeepers do is we give them plenty of space, and they just keep storing more than they need. We leave for them what they need, and we take the rest.
So you know how much to leave them?
Oh yeah, you have to leave them enough to get through winter.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's it's animal husbandry. You want to be good
Yeah.
to your bees.
Yeah,
You don't wanna
absolutely.
take it
Yeah,
all.
yeah, right.
There is to take it all. So interesting things about honey. There is no expiration date on it. Like I said, if you
Never knew that.
if you take the honey, you uncap it, you put it in an extractor, spin it around, the honey will drip down the sides of the extractor, and you just open up the honey gate and you pour out the honey. You can eat it right then and there. And yeah, it's
You don't do anything to it, you just eat it right from that point. in
pure
time.
raw honey. Yep.
Okay.
Eventually, it could crystallize, and here's a picture of crystallized honey. So it's more opaque and lighter in
this
color. Let me show you a picture of my regular honey. There. That's the color of my regular liquid
So
honey.
what's the difference between that and that? That's crystallized?
Yeah, it's crystallized. So what happens is the glucose portion of the glucose and fructose that makes up the honey is a supersaturated solution, so eventually the glucose sets up in crystals.
Okay.
So when you have crystallized honey, there's nothing wrong with it. It's pure honey. All you do is you put it in warm water, and it will revert back to runny honey.
Oh, runny honey.
Runny honey, we call it runny honey.
Runny honey, okay, runny honey. I
Yeah.
see, okay.
So it's neat. And another product you can do with honey is you can force crystallize it
Okay.
using super, super small crystals, and that's called whipped honey or creamed honey.
All right.
It's kind of a misnomer because there's no cream in it, but that's kind of a specialty product with a method called the dice method, which is pretty involved. I know,
And you
but-
do that?
Yeah, I do.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Well, I'll get more into that in the future when I have a little bit more time. But I wanted to show you this one interesting thing. If you look at this jar, see the color difference? Down at the bottom,
Yeah.
it's yellow, and at the top, it's more amber. That's the bees were foraging on different flowers in the spring than in the fall. And I just find that really interesting. That's why your honey colors will change throughout the
I
season.
just never knew that.
Yeah.
I never knew that. I didn't even, like, you got two different colors in the jar.
Yeah, it's neat. So I did that in the spring and in the fall just to see the separation.
That's very cool.
I don't know.
No expiration date.
As long as it's kept capped, so
Okay.
moisture can't get into it and raise that moisture content over 20%, it will last forever. And it makes really good wedding gifts because I like to say, honey, like love, lasts forever. Isn't that sweet?
So
My son
sweet.
just got engaged, so I had to plug that. Alrighty, so some things I wanted to tell you about the honey I already covered, which was the color and the taste that vary with the season. The crystallization is a natural process. Again, do not throw out your honey if it crystallizes. Put it in warm water, in a warm water bath in the jar, and it will revert to runny honey. Do you know it's a complete source of nutrition? Did you know that? You
No.
can live on it? Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Come on. Oh, so let's write a book, the Diet Honey
Vitamins,
book.
minerals, enzymes, a fuel source for carbohydrates, and water. So yeah,
Water.
bees live on it. That's what they use as their carbohydrate source. So
What's the fat content, honey?
none,
Is there? No.
none.
There's no protein in honey.
There is no protein. However, there may be a few grains of pollen, which is a protein source, and it's a huge protein source for bees. So, yeah. And do you know what the honeymoon is?
Oh, I can only imagine.
Well, the honeymoon was, I don't know, way back when. They used to have the bride and groom go away for a month, to
Yeah.
like try to have a
Yeah.
baby, and they would call it the honeymoon because they would do it for a full moon cycle.
Okay.
And as a gift, they were given honey. It's
Right.
supposed to be an aphrodisiac. I don't know if
Right.
that's true,
Right.
but they would also make mead.
Mead, which
And they
is
would
the
give them
best
mead.
part of honey. I just found out today.
Which is great. So this is part of the honeymoon. They would feed them mead. So of course,
Yeah.
Yeah, anyway. So mead is one of the oldest drinks. It's the oldest fermentable drink. And this one I made with strawberries as well. And this is, what do they call that? It's on the tip of my tongue. I can't think of it. But anyway, it's the oldest fermented drink. So if you add honey, water, air, yeast, and thyme, you will get mead.
Honestly,
Kinda cool, yeah.
That's very cool. I never even knew about it.
So, all right, let's
Learned a lot
move
of stuff
on.
today.
So let me tell you a little bit more about honey and
Yeah.
raw honey specifically. All right, so do you know honey's really good for wounds? Did you know
I've
that?
heard that. I've never used it, but I've heard that it's good for wounds.
Yeah,
But why is that?
there's a few reasons. You need a moist wound environment in
Okay.
order to have like what they call the epithelial cells come and mesh together, and that
Okay.
causes good wound healing. So what happens when you put honey into a wound? You're giving a high sugar content to a wound, so you're giving moisture to the wound. You're also, in that high sugar content, not allowing any bacteria to get in there, because honey is antibacterial, antifungal, antiviral. It's got all these antis. So it's a neat thing. And it also has a thing called glucose peroxidase in it, which the glucose portion converts to gluconic acid,
Uh-huh.
which is a pH of 4. Can you imagine? pH
Okay.
of water is 7, so this is
Yeah.
really acidic. Nothing
Yeah.
can grow in an
Yeah.
acidic environment like that. And it also has a little bit of hydrogen peroxide in it. So you know how you normally add
Yeah,
hydrogen
yeah,
peroxide
to
to
a
a
wound,
wound? So this
right.
does it naturally,
Mhm.
okay? So anyway, the reason that bacteria can't live in it, or viral particles or anything, is because it has to do with like that moisture content being drawn
Okay.
out, and it actually causes the cell walls to die. So absolutely no bacteria can live in honey.
So you're telling me, let's say I scrape my arm.
Mm-hmm,
I'm going to put some honey on it,
mm-hmm.
clean
Bandage
it
it
out,
up.
put honey on it, bandage it
Yep.
up, and see it when.
Ah.
Will it heal
Change it
faster?
every day. It will
Oh,
heal
change it
faster.
Okay.
They now have products like this on the market. This is just one I pulled from CVS.
Mm-hmm.
Manuka honey wound gel.
Okay.
So you could use regular honey, but Manuka honey has a little extra something in it called,
Is
if I
it-
have to write this
is it
down,
actually Manuka?
methylglyoxal.
Oh, I would have said Manuka.
No, Manuka, it's a Manuka factor of 10 or more. So what they
Yeah.
call it, the UMF, is the unique Manuka factor. There's something special about Manuka honey that has that methylglyoxal in it, and it acts as another antibiotic, and they're not quite sure how it works.
Okay.
Nobody really knows how
Right.
it works.
It
So-
works.
But it works. They use it in hospitals. They do. It's great. I've used it for wound healing, and it's a fantastic product. So, one other thing that honey has in it is called bee defensin,
Okay.
which is another thing that is produced in the hypopharyngeal glands of the bee. So when they do that trophallaxis and they put the honey back and forth to each other, they spread that enzyme,
Right.
and that also acts as an immune booster.
A lot of
That's
stuff.
blowing your mind, right?
But you're blowing my mind today.
All
Blowing my
right, what
mind
else
with this
can I
today.
tell you about honey?
Go ahead.
What
You have
else?
something? Well, I was going to say that, I mean, we have another product here. We have honey and almond
Oh, yeah.
clay face mask. Brenda's got a lot. Like, she comes down with all these, like, soaps.
But do you know
and-
that honey is
lip
really good
balm.
for your skin, just in general? You can wash your
Yeah.
face with honey.
Okay.
A lot of people do.
Uh-huh.
It softens the skin. It's really good for acne because, again, you can't have that high bacterial content live in it. I like to mix it with almond flour, just to give it a little bit of scrubbiness, a little bit of water, a little bit of preservative. Again, if you add water, add a little preservative, and honey, or you could just make it fresh. And yeah, I wash my face every day with that. It's good.
I
It's
believe
great
it.
stuff.
Look at how good your face looks.
Yeah, yeah. So what other things? Honey is also good for promoting sleep. Did you know that?
I only did because you told me the other day.
There is a little bit of tryptophan in honey, which you know can foster sleep. It acts on the serotonin pathway as well as the melatonin pathway. Couldn't tell you how, but that's how it
happens.
does. That's how
Right.
it does. Yep. It's also great fuel for your brain, and it's great for your allergies too, and a throat soother.
So, I always get this comment, I hear about sugar, should I have honey? It's got a lot of sugar and it shouldn't have honey. I always say it's natural, have honey. So tell us about the sugar content in honey.
Honey is a natural product, so when you compare it with sugar that is a highly processed product, it might be better to go with a natural product. Now, honey does have a few more calories per tablespoon compared with sugar, but it also is better for you because it has all the enzymes, all the, sorry.
That's okay, I'm just gonna steal it.
It has just a lot of other things. It has 20 different types of sugar in it, actually. I couldn't tell you what they all are.
I didn't even know there was that many different types of
It's a
sugar.
very complex type
Right,
of, product, but anyway.
So there's no reason to fear the sugar in honey.
There isn't, because we live on carbohydrates.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's just that balance. You don't want too much. You don't want too much alcohol. A little bit's not going to be bad, like the honeymoon. But it's carbohydrates aren't to be feared. They should be used properly.
Right. So Brenda has this little chart here that it's a guide. Okay, it's kind of hard to see on Facebook, so we'll put this information again in the notes there, just so that you know if you're going to use a quarter of a cup of sugar. If your recipe calls for a quarter of a cup of sugar, that's 3 tablespoons. Or if it's a third of a cup, it's 3 tablespoons. Just so that you have a little guide that you can use to determine how much honey you should be using, rather than that.
Yeah, because honey is sweeter. It's definitely
Yeah, so you use a
sweeter,
little
so you
less.
don't need as much. Use a little bit less.
Yeah.
So.
We always hear why, get your honey natural, get your natural honey from the area wherever it's made. So why is that?
Some people believe that if you have allergies, getting a little bit, like microdosing yourself with some of the pollens that are in the honey that are in your area, could help decrease the allergen response.
Okay.
Or it also helps to support your local beekeeper
That's
and know
what
where your honey comes from.
know where your honey
and know
comes
how your
from.
honey's being managed and your
Exactly.
hives are being managed. That's important.
You know who that person is?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Your honey's not just here. Do you sell
I
just you here? Do you have it anywhere
I have
else?
6 different apiaries. I keep them in Burlington, Harwinton, and Colebrook right now. So, and New Hartford. New Hartford as well.
Right. You got a lot of bees out there.
I have quite a few. 60,000 per hive.
60,000?
Per hive.
Wow.
Per hive. Right now I'm running about 14 hives.
So how much honey do you get from one hive?
Well, if it's a
good-
if
let's
it's a
say it's
good
good,
producer, I had one hive that gave me about 300 pounds this year. It was kind of off the chart.
Okay, so
I
300
needed
pounds.
to get a step stool to bring those honey supers up to the
So
top.
this is 1 pound?
That's 1 pound.
It's 1 pound of honey.
Yeah.
300 pounds. What do we sell this for? forget.
That's for 10.
$10, right?
Yeah.
So 300 pounds you got?
Yeah.
I remember when you
One
started, we used
crazy
to
good
run
hive.
out.
Yeah, I know.
We used to run out, not
But
anymore.
it all depends, because 10 miles down the road, you might have no honey flow, nothing going on. There's no nectar. Depends a lot on weather. Are the flowers producing? Has the nectar been washed out? There's a lot of factors, and that's why agriculture is really difficult sometimes. But it's a definite love.
Are there more health benefits to honey other than some, reducing the sugar content of more of a natural sugar, or, the allergy aspect of it? I'm trying to think off the top of my head.
Well, let's see. Other than the wound healing.
The wound healing is
Yeah,
one of the
that's
major
huge.
things,
That
right?
really is
Yeah.
huge. And it used to be that way many years ago, and then we got into just
You gotta
just
sell
throw a
medicine,
pill at it,
right?
right?
Yeah, exactly.
But
Always,
now
right.
it's all going back,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
it's
yeah,
kind of
yeah,
a
yeah,
nice
yeah,
thing.
yeah.
But here's one interesting
Yeah.
thing, though. Even though it is antibacterial, okay,
Okay.
you never ever want to give honey to infants, and there's always a warning label
Right.
on the back. Never give honey to an infant under 1 year of age, and the reason, it's a little hard to explain, but Clostridium in its state can survive honey. Nothing else can, but Clostridium can, and it survives in a spore state, so it has this like protective spore envelope. And if you give it to a young infant, they don't have an immune system or a digestive system able to handle that. So
Okay.
when that spore releases, it can actually cause
Right.
botulism, which is not good. So
Not
please,
good.
never give honey to an infant.
Stay away from them.
Once they're over a year of age, they're able to
Okay.
handle it. Like you and I can
Cool.
handle it. Our,
Right.
our bodies will be fine with that.
I just want you to know how come Brenda can pronounce all these big words and I can't, because Brenda's actually a nurse. She was a nurse for a really long time.
Oh gosh,
And
28 years.
20 years ago, she decided, you know what, I'm getting away from all the sick people. I want to help people not get sick. So that's why she got into fitness
I like
and
that,
does stuff
the
like
healthy
this,
side,
right?
yeah.
Absolutely. It's a lot more fun.
It is. It is.
a
We
lot
have
more
great,
fun.
great clients
Yeah,
here. It's a
great.
fun place to work.
Well, I appreciate you coming on board today and giving us some insight onto honey. I learned a lot of stuff today.
Thank you. Thank you.
I learned that I need to get some mead
Yes. Yes.
and that it
I'm making
just
some mead.
never
and One of these
expires.
days, you're gonna come and like look over those 60,000 insects. And
I gotta wear one of those suits and everything.
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah.
Maybe one day I'll come to your house.
it gets
It's
tough
close
at
by.
90 degrees when you're all covered
I
up,
like
but
the sweat,
otherwise,
though. I like
I
the
know.
sweat, so again, I'm gonna leave the information for Brenda for her website. Say it again.
Waggle Dance Apiary.
Apiary, where you can go on there and order product.
You can?
Right, order product there. Or you can come down here at Y.E.S Fitness. We don't have all the products all the time. We typically have honey. Sometimes we have lip balm. Sometimes we have soap.
Mm-hmm.
We have some stuff like that. You know, we're open most of the time. So, and I appreciate you taking the time.
Thank
We
you
learned a
so
lot of good
much.
stuff,
And thank
and-
you for listening to me rant about
Absolutely.
what I love.
Yes, good stuff. You know, usually when you have people on that talk about what they love, you can really see that passion. You really get
Yeah.
and understand why someone would get into it. And if you want to do this or get started,
I will get you started.
absolutely, because I know you got like Joe's daughter started, didn't you? Or
I did. One of our clients, her
Uh-huh.
daughter is now doing beekeeping up in New Hampshire.
in New Hampshire.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So she was given a whole hive set
Mhm.
for her marriage gift from her parents, which I think is
Nice,
so
thanks.
cool.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
So that's cool. So I want to thank you guys for watching, taking the time from your busy day. If you have any questions, certainly give me a call, give Brenda a call, put a
Yep.
message on Facebook. We'd be more than happy to answer that for you. I may not know the answer for this one, but I can find it. I know the person to go to. And you can look for more information on how to get fit, feel younger, and live better from us down here at Y.E.S Fitness. And next Tuesday at 3:30. I want everybody to have a great night and a safe evening, and thanks for watching. Bye.
Bye.